it is the main selling point of Bomberman Kart Deluxe, the kart mode. The RPG survival mode was pretty good, so surely this mode must be even better, right? The graphics look better, I suppose. I mean, it uses 3D models as opposed to 2D sprites, so it's easy to tell where the budget went. But the developers didn't spend all this time on the graphics and rush the rest of the mode. Right? In all seriousness though, while I was playing this when I was younger, I had the most trouble with this mode because of the controls. Already a bad sign, isn't it? Maybe it was because I wasn't good at games back then, that I had so much trouble with the controls, particularly the drift feature. It feels like the moment you hit the drift button, you get sent into this drift mode, where the controls become 5 times as sensitive as usual. I'm fine with how the karts usually handle, but it's just way too sensitive when in the drift mode. It's even tougher to correct a drift gone wrong. In fact, I used to do complete 360s in the kart, which shows just how bad the drift controls are. Sure, I got used to the drift controls after years of playing this game, but even now I still try to avoid the drift feature when I can, just because of how sensitive it is. Whenever I play a game, I usually blame myself for screwing up. This is because of my incredibly low confidence, so oftentimes I don't think things are cheap when they actually are. But in this game, I got quite heated a few times just because of how many times the drift screwed me over. The terrible drift is even more apparent in the special races. In some of the special races, you aren't allowed to hit the walls. There are also certain types of special races where you have to cover a certain distance without hitting the walls or even slowing down too much. This means you aren't allowed to go on the sand or grass too long, as it will cause you to fail the mission. Even the developers knew that these special races were overly difficult, as there's one line in the game, which most of you probably can't read, which references the difficulty of these races. The game also doesn't handle failing very well. Instead of just giving you the option to try again the moment you fail, it has to slowly tell you that you failed by having the letters appear on screen, then it moves to another screen to let you know that you failed, and then finally it lets you restart. In the regular races, this doesn't matter, as it skips the first fail screen. It's the special races where it becomes such a huge problem, particularly those difficult ones where you can fail in a matter of seconds. Anyway, how's this game structured? Well, this game has a hub world where you enter buildings to enter races. There are 2 areas, the B-class area and the A-class area. In each area, you first have to get the license to drive in that area. Once you have gotten your license, you receive a light class kart for free. If you don't like the kart, then you can buy another one at the kart shop using the money earned from winning races. Each different building has a set of special races and regular races. Once you have finished all of this, you can enter the Grand Prix of that building. After that victory, you get a kart for the next weight class. Though, if you bought a kart of that race class already, then you can go ahead and participate in that weight class without clearing anything else but the license center races. You don't even need your own kart for the special races, meaning that as soon as you get your license, you can participate in any special race of the B-class area. Once you have completed all 3 weight categories, you can race in the Grand Prix Center. Clearing all the Grand Prix of the B-class area grants you access to the A-class area. I always found it a bit redundant that you have to get another license once you entered the A-class area. I already proved that I'm more than capable of driving a kart, right? Heck, I cleared the whole B-class area. Shouldn't that be enough proof that I can race in the A-class area? Anyway, the A-class area is structured exactly the same way as the B-class area. Another thing I should mention is that after you complete the Grand Prix of a weight category, you get an event where Bomberman can race against his friends. This is another point where I felt the developers got lazy, as most of the races are straight races. Either way, most of these are one-on-one races, and you don't need to win them, so it's best that they edit quickly. After completing the A-class area, you can enter the second floor of the Grand Prix Center to race for your grand prize. The grand prize for whoever wins is a crown. Seriously? Everyone is working so hard so that they can wear a crown? You don't even get to wear it in the aftergame. Talk about a waste of time. I think everyone's doing it for the pride and not the crown. Wait, that's even stupider. Sure, people respect you by the end of the game, but you don't really learn anything meaningful during your journey, nor do you get a nice reward. Anyway, what is the gimmick of this game? Why should someone buy this game over something like Mario Kart? I suppose the Nitro feature is a nice feature. I haven't played many kart races, so I don't really know what the norm is. The Nitro allows you to unleash a burst of speed for a limited amount of time. Once your Nitro gauge has diminished, you can no longer use your Nitro. The longer you use it, the faster you go, but using it in short bursts can help you correct your drift. With the exception of the straight race, I hardly ever use the whole Nitro in one burst. I usually use it if I've been halted and need to make a comeback. This halt is usually the drift messing up. The best thing and worst thing about this game is a different selection of race modes. My favorite is the speed race, as it has no gimmicks and the winner is determined by pure skill. This is the best part of the game. Why is this such a big deal? Well, this is because the other two modes, the battle race and the turbo speed race, rely more on luck and skill, particularly the battle race. Let me explain myself. The turbo speed race is the same as the speed race, but with boost panels all over the tracks. My problem with this is that it's actually more advantageous for the player to avoid the boost panels rather than utilizing them. Most of the time the boost panels are located in places which send you off the track. In fact, the boost panels don't give you any perks at all. This is because of the rubber band AI. For those of you who don't know, rubber banding means that if you're ahead of the computer player, then the computer players will start to drive towards you at ridiculous speeds. But if the computer player is ahead of you, then they will slow down for you. Even if they are using the Nitro and are on the boost panels, you can still catch up to them relatively easily. But if you are ahead of them, the boost panels don't make a difference to the already ridiculous speeds the computer players are moving at. My point is that the boost panels are a good concept, but it doesn't work well with the rubber band AI. Your victory is determined by how many times the boost panels send you into a wall or off the track. I also mentioned another mode, didn't I? I hated this mode so much, and I still do to this day. This mode is the battle mode. The battle mode has the gimmick of having item boxes scattered throughout the racetrack. If this is the norm for racing games, then perhaps this is why I don't like the racing genre. The items are so cheap. There are so many missile weapons and all of them slightly home in on you. Sure, it's easy to avoid them, but when you do get hit by them, you are slowed down so much that you are forced to use the Nitro to catch up. Thankfully in the battle mode, there are items to refill your Nitro gauge. There are also bomb items which range in usefulness. There's a bouncing bomb which rarely hits anyone, and there's the mine bomb which is hard to spot on the track, resulting in players getting hit a lot. You may look at the footage and think it isn't hard to spot, but when taking into account that you have to focus on the drifting and avoiding the missiles, getting hit is almost inevitable. I can see it just fine, but that is just because I've been playing this game for a long time and I've gotten good at spotting the mines. If I can give credit to one of the items, it's the red missiles, which attacks the person in the lead. It's designed so that if you slow down, you can avoid it with ease, but if you're good at the game, you can use the jump feature to avoid it. Maybe it's because of all the times I got hit by a blue shell in Mario Kart, but this is like a godsend considering that it's actually possible to avoid it without the use of an additional item. All this isn't such a big deal if it weren't for the rubber banding. The player getting hit by any of the battle mode obstacles causes them to fall behind much more than if a computer player got hit by any of the obstacles. Don't even get me started on the long battle mode. These are few and far between, but they take up more time than any other race. Sometimes you end up losing all your HP and dying. Since it's a battle mode, the number of items that obstruct you will depend on your luck. So even your survival is based on luck. Just surviving isn't good enough, as you need to get first to progress. There are several Grand Prix at the aftergame, and guess what sort of Grand Prix the hardest one is? A long battle turbo mode Grand Prix. This means that all of my problems from each of these modes stack up to make a nearly unplayable Grand Prix. I've only ever cleared this once, and I don't ever plan to attempt it again. I think I've talked about the negatives of this game enough now. Is there anything I like about this game? To be honest, no, there isn't anything I like about this game. I enjoyed the B-class half of the game, but I think that was entirely nostalgia speaking for me. By the time I reached the A-class half, the nostalgia factor had worn off, and I could see how bad this game truly was. This is probably the reason to why it never made it overseas. The main mode of the game is riddled with problems. The survival mode should have been the main mode, as that is a great mode. My final score to this game is a 52 out of 100. Perhaps it's because the developers are better at designing 2D games, as opposed to 3D ones, that this mode isn't as good as the survival mode. So far, one game in this package has been good, and one has been bad. Let's see how the final mode, the battle mode, holds up.